Welcome back everyone, I'm the Architecture Insider, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to create a site section using Illustrator. One of the first things I did was to have all of my elements ready. All of the people, the vehicles, the trees, the grass, the shrubs, whatever. Now what this does for me personally, it makes me more time efficient so that I don't waste time looking for things. Now one of the first things I did is I just opened the PDF straight away into Illustrator and saved it as a Illustrator file. What I then did is I created all of my layers, because I know how many layers and what layers I'm going to have, but you can always do that along your work process. So I've added all of my textures, my materials, the people, and just added a variety of layers that I can always remove or add more. Now one of the first things I did was to create a black fill of the actual section. I use black just because it pops out, but you can even use a gray or even white sometimes. It's all about personal preference really. Now to do this, you select everything and then you click K as a shortcut for the live paint bucket tool, and then you just select your color and you just click on all of the lines and areas that you need the black fill. Now what you then do is you use Shift L to use the live paint bucket selection tool. You would click on the color, go to select, same, fill color. This then selects everything of the same color, and then you click and then you cut it and paste it in place into your dedicated layer. Now I then did this again for everything else, for all of the water, all of my materials. It's just a case of repeating the process over and over again. So I then moved on to the roofs. Now I wanted the roofs to be a little bit dark and opacity and line weight, just so that it shows that there's a bit of depth into the actual image. And then what I did is I grouped the colors that are in the same background. So the one at the further back, it will be the lightest, the ones closer by will be a bit more darker, and then the ones at the front will be nice and dark. This again gives a bit of depth, and then you can always change the colors afterwards, and it's just about trial and error to make sure you get the right colors. Now I have this wall that's all made of small bricks, and then there are some gaps. Now I was initially going to literally click on every single brick, but then I realized, wait, this is not the right way to do it. I would rather make everything brown, the brick color, and then make what is not brick white, because there's less of those than actual brick. So that's what I did. I created a rectangle, moved it all over the space, made it a brown, and then I used white to take off all of the spaces that are not actually brick. Again, what you would do is you would select the color, cut it, paste it in place to the right layer. Now I then started moving on to the internal spaces, which was mainly the furniture. So this is like the bazaar, so it's like a small shop, which just has a few shelves, a little bit of a desk for someone to sit in and to sell the stuff. Nothing too crazy. So again, I just selected everything, used K as the live bucket, and then just painted all of the spaces that needed this color. Now what I have also done is I have made all of my textures ready. Now to make a texture, as I've done in my previous videos, you literally paste your texture in Illustrator and drag it, drop it to your swatches, and that is it. Simple as that. So I then moved on to all of my textures, and I started with the bamboo at the top and every other one, just to give a variety, and then the others will be made of concrete, which I'll get on later on. Now what I then did is to change the scale. You would select all of your textures, you would go to Object, Transform, and Scale. When you do click on scale, you have to make sure that everything is off except transform patterns, so that your texture itself doesn't move, it just changes the scale in its own position. You will just find your right scale and then click OK. You can always come back to this, so remember that you can always change it, so it's okay if it doesn't look right now. And then again, lower the opacity depending on the location of the actual pattern and the actual location of the building. I then moved on to do the exact same thing for concrete. Now concrete I use quite a bit in the areas because it's a cheap material to be used in this kind of a country. Now, similar to the roofs, what I did is I grouped all of the ones that are in the same background, and then I would lower the opacity all of this at the same, so that they're consistent and they all stay the same, without me having to change every single individual one. I then just moved on to the existing buildings and did the same thing, a bit of concrete on the inside and a bit of brown color for the actual furniture. And then again did the same texture with the brick. Now, one of the important things is adding trees. Now, you have to make sure that when you add trees, that they are actually trees that are going to be grown in the actual context. This just makes your renders and sections and elevations a bit more realistic, and it has more of a relationship to the actual context. Now, you have to make sure that you just, copy and paste the different variety of trees onto the same image and not all have the same. You have to change the heights, the widths, the lengths of all of these trees just so that they are a little bit different, and it just makes it look more natural rather than it all being the exact same heights and whatever. I then started adding all of the people and the vehicles, and so again with the people you could literally just be very random to where you put them, but you should always think about who is going where in which locations. So I've added a variety of men and women and children and families, because I want a space to so that the people understand that this is a space for everyone. It's inclusive to male, female and all different ages, and not just to a specific gender or age. And here you can see the final render. I've added a few clouds which I don't really like, so I might remove them, but again, it's personal preference. You can add birds, you can add like a sun, a moon or whatever. It all depends on yourself, but I like to keep it very nice and minimal so that it focuses on the actual building and the architecture rather than all of these fancy things. And again, the benefit of using Illustrator is just that the quality, it's absolutely amazing, very clear, very sharp, clean edges, which is exactly what you need when you're presenting. Now, as always, I never like to show you the final product without showing how I presented it. So I've added the elevation with it just so that it fills up the page, otherwise the section alone will be very plain. You can see the little key, you can see the scale that I've added, a little bit of text, the titles. And what I've also done is I've added these numbers just to show what these spaces are, just to make it a little bit more clear to the viewer. And that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.